there, Improv Tipsters. Welcome back to Improv Tips, where I and some of the best improvisers in the world give you improv tips and advice to make you a better, more confident, and happier improviser. I am, as always, your host, Paul Vaillancourt. Let's begin. Before we get down to today's tip, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, if you're joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. If you've been a long-time viewer, thank you for coming back and watching a new season of Improv Tips. In this new season, I have a bunch of really great guest tippers already lined up. I've already seen their tips. They're so great. It's so exciting. I can't wait to share them with you, so please stay tuned for that. Also, I'm going to be revisiting some of the other types of content that we do here on the channel. For example, Yes and Then What, where I interview artists who are using improv in non-specifically improv-related fields. Also, What Were You Thinking?, where I and another improviser do a scene and then we watch it back and talk about our thought process and the decisions we were making all the way along. You all seem to like those. I certainly love doing them, getting to play a little bit, and I always learn so much from the improvisers that I do them with. Also, I'm going to be presenting some new content. I'm going to be doing some more in-depth chat interviews where I get to dig a little bit deeper into some of the more complex issues in improv. And I have a bunch of other ideas of content that haven't totally come together yet, but I'm very excited about them, and when they are together, you will be the first to see them. But I want this channel to be for you and helpful to you. So if you could, take a moment and leave me a comment down below. Let me know, what's the favorite content that you want to see? What's something else that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to see? Or someone that you'd like to hear an improv tip from? Or if you have a question that you'd like me to answer or talk about, please put that in there. Or if you just want to say hi, I'm here for it all. That would be great too. Just love to hear from you guys of what you're thinking about the channel and sort of what you're thinking about in improv. That's really the most interesting thing, isn't it? Also, while I'm asking, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel and click that notification button so that you're notified whenever new Improv Tips content comes out. I don't want you to miss anything. Now on to today's tip. Over the break, the most popular tip was this guy, ding ding, number 147, starting scenes stronger. I get it. That is a really important part of improv and something that people grapple with a lot. So I'm back today with straight fire with 3 more ways of starting scenes stronger. All right, let's get into it. All 3 of these ideas today really deal with one big idea, which is energizing the first moment of the scene. If you've been improvising for any amount of time, then you know as well as I do that oftentimes improv scenes start off slow and they kind of warm up to sort of like creeping up on what the scene is about. Now, that is a totally valid way to do it, and that is a total important part of improv. But if you're doing that, I want you to be doing that because you're choosing to do it that way, not because that's the only tool that you have. So today, I'm offering you another tool, energizing the first moment of the scene. When you do that, you draw the audience and the other players in right away and you start in the middle. You know, we often talk about this idea of starting in the middle of the scene. That's what this is, energizing that first moment and getting right into it. Okay? Here we go. The simplest and most straightforward thing is emotion. This ding ding playlist is a bunch of improv tips all about emotion, and we should be using emotion all through our scenes. It energizes the scene all the way throughout, but we can use it right out of the gate, starting off the scene by either coming in with a big emotion or endowing our partner with a big emotion, because that energizes that scene. That takes us into the middle. Something has happened, and we already have a feeling about it. We're not just starting the scene blank like a robot or a baby duck, like waking up in a new world and then discovering that whole new world. We're existing as part of that world, and the audience is joining us while we're already in emotional action. A very great, simple tip that it's very easy to do. You're probably already using emotions. This is just like pushing it forward to the very top of the scene. Come in with that idea. Number 2, where are you coming from? Think about where you're coming from. In acting, there's an exercise called the moment before, where you kind of work out, where are you coming from? What just happened off stage? What just happened before this scene that you're about to perform? What just happened before this scene started? And we can do the same thing in improv. We can take something from the opening or just a thought that we have and come in I just came from here. This just happened before this scene started. So you're coming in energized because you've been alive in this world. Again, you're not like a baby duck or a tabula rasa. You're coming in alive and in the middle of the world, right? And that's really what we love. Let's look at an example. An office scene. Okay, a lot of times office scene starts where 2 people come out and they kind of rattle around the office until finally someone says something and then it happens. But what if you just came in with a feeling and with coming from somewhere? Damn it, the traffic sucked. Now I'm late. All the donuts are gone. This day's gonna suck. I can't believe this, right? You're energized right out of the gate. There's something happening with you. Or it could be something, doesn't have to be something negative, it could also be something great. The trick of this technique is to not make this scene about where you're coming from, about that thing that just happened. It's got to be about this. You're taking taking that energy from what just happened, bang, and you're playing it out now in this scene. But don't make this scene about that. Here's an example of that. Maybe I enter the scene and it's still the office and I say, oh my God, I just ran into someone's car out in the parking lot. Now the trap version of this scene is for me and my partner to rehash that exercise, rehash all of that, figure out whose car it is, did I leave a note, blah, blah, blah. All that is outside of the scene. But there's another version where I come in and I say, oh crap, I just hit someone's car out in the parking lot. And I'm coming with that energized moment. And then my partner maybe says what that means about me, that I'm reckless. Right? And then we could start right in the middle there with me, the reckless person, recklessing around the office, and my partner dealing with that, right? And then I give them a gift and then we're off to the races, but we're starting so much stronger because we're starting in the middle of something. I'm in the middle of the world, right? I'm not just starting from a dead stop. I think that's the hardest way to start a scene, from a dead stop. So I'm coming in with something that happened before, and I'm using it to energize this scene, but this scene is not about that scene. That's super important to keep in mind. And the third technique I want to talk about is starting in the middle of a line. Starting in the middle of a line, right? It's very closely related to the moment before, but I'm finishing that moment here on stage. We, as improv teachers and improv coaches, often say start in the middle. This is it, man. This is starting in the middle. I'm finishing an idea that started off stage or before the scene started. I'm finishing it right here in front of the audience, but it energizes us because we are coming in. We're as the audience joining this scene already in action. That's kind of where we want to be. Let's take a look at two examples. Okay, let's say that the previous scene is over and my partner and I are entering the scene kind of at the same time. We're both sort of jumping out there to sweep edit. Rather than just like coming on and standing still for a second, I come in finishing along. And so that's why you're mad? And so now we're in the middle. We're just sort of in the middle of an argument or disagreement, or that they're mad about something. But that first moment is energized because we know that it's trailing off of something that we haven't seen yet. But now we, as players and as audience members, are really interested in what that is. And it's already sort of whoosh, thrust us into the middle of the scene. And again, that's where we want to start. Start in the middle. This is that. How about another example? The previous scene has just ended. Someone has swept the scene and now they're standing out there and they just checked their watch. The scene hasn't really started yet, right? And then I step out and without sort of like starting the scene, I step out, take my position maybe down on one knee next to them, and I look up at them, and that's sort of like this fading up energy. There's this moment of grace before the scene starts per se, right? And in that fading up energy, I take my position, and then honoring the idea that they've checked their watch, maybe they're bored or they're waiting for something, I look up at them and I say, and so for all those reasons, I'm asking you to marry me. Right now, we're in the middle of that scene. We're in the middle of that proposal. It's happening right now. Rather than the whole scene leading up to that, we're starting with that, right? And this is super exciting because we're energizing that first moment. We're taking the thing that would end the scene and we're starting the scene with it. Oh my gosh, what's that going to be like? How's that going to play out? Is that person going to say yes? Are they going to say no? We don't know, but we're energized. We're starting again in the middle. And that's where we want to start. That's the most exciting place to be. So, in conclusion, here's the three strategies that we talked about today. 1, starting with a big emotion, either for yourself or endowing your partner with a big emotion. 2, where are you coming from? Have like a tiny little bit of history that you're bringing that energy and that sort of life force into the scene. So you're starting like in action rather than from a dead stop. And 3, starting in the middle of the line does sort of the same thing, right? I'm just finishing this previous moment that the audience hasn't seen. I'm inviting them into to this exciting moment in the middle of the scene rather than all the lead up, right? All 3 of these strategies energize that first moment and start us off like a shotgun start right out of the gate. Now, let me reiterate what I said before. There is absolutely nothing wrong with starting off slow and making discoveries and warming up to what the scene's about. I love to play that way too. But as I said before, I would love for you to play that way if you're choosing to play that way, not because that's the only way you know how to play. So I'm just offering you another tool to use, all right?